The passage narrowed into a corridor lined with reinforced steel. The walls hummed, vibrating with a faint electrical pulse. Reyes stopped suddenly. "Captain, look," she pointed to a door. Heavy industrial, marked with peeling white paint. One word stamped across it. "Survivors." My heart kicked hard. Bennett exhaled. "No way." Hale pushed closer. "The others from Vickers' team?" Quinn shook her head. The log said all 6 follow-up teams disappeared. Reyes cursed under her breath. No one reported survivors. Ward brushed his hand across the rusted lock. "There's only one way to find out." We forced the door open. The room inside was long, narrow, like a medical ward. Rows of cots lined the walls. Old medical trays sat beside each one. And in every cot, a body, wrapped in thermal blankets. Motionless. Faces covered. Reyes whispered, "God." Hale stepped to the nearest cot, slowly. He reached for the blanket. "Don't," Quinn said sharply. "We don't know what's under." Hale pulled the blanket back. The body beneath wasn't dead. Not exactly. Eyes open. Breathing slow. Skin cold and pale. Alive. Unconscious. Bennett stared. "How are they still alive?" Ward swallowed. "They've been here 13 years. Quinn leaned forward. "No, they haven't aged 13 years. I felt the air thicken around me. Time here didn't feel normal. Reality didn't feel normal. This wasn't just a station," I whispered. "This was an experiment." Reyes turned to me. "Captain, what kind of experiment keeps people alive forever?" The voice came again through Quinn's radio. Loud. Clear. "Human. Help us." And for the first time, we heard fear. The room felt colder than the stone itself. Air too still, too sterile for something this deep beneath the earth. Hale moved along the row of motionless soldiers, eyes fixed on each face. Every set of lungs rose and fell in painfully slow rhythm. "These men should be dead," he whispered. "They are dead," Ward said quietly. "Just not officially." Reyes approached another cot, peering down at the pale, barely breathing soldier beneath layers of dust-stained fabric. "Look at his wristband," she murmured. I leaned closer. A faded medical tag hung from the man's arm. The ink was smudged but readable. "Harlan Ridge, Unit Delta 9. Status, suspended." Quinn frowned. Suspended means medically frozen. Not active, not deceased. Bennett shook his head slowly. "No military program does this. None we know about." Quinn corrected. Hale swallowed. "But why keep them alive?" Reyes answered without hesitation. "Because they weren't finished with them." A low mechanical hum drifted through the room, vibrating the metal frames of the cots. Somewhere beyond, machinery stirred, ancient gears shifting under the weight of time and power. Ward stared at the corridor ahead. "There's more. Deeper still." Bennett stepped forward. "And whoever tried to stop us wasn't trying to kill us. They were trying to chase us away." Reyes nodded. "They didn't want to hurt us. They wanted to protect whatever's down here. Or whomever." We checked each body row by row. 7 soldiers total. Each alive but comatose. Each wearing dog tags from Vickers' squad. The same squad declared dead 13 years ago. My breath tightened. "The government reported them, Kia." Quinn's voice trembled. "They never died." And then we heard footsteps. Slow. Measured. Approaching from the far corridor. Reyes lifted her rifle. Contact. 3 figures emerged from the shadows. The same enemy uniforms as before. Same pale skin. Same empty eyes. But these weren't soldiers. Not anymore. Their movements were wrong. Jerky, uncoordinated, like puppets pulled by unseen strings. Bennett stepped forward, weapon raised. "Identify yourselves." No response. Reyes' voice sharpened. "You do not want to do this." Still silence. Then all 3 figures fell to their knees. Quinn gasped. "Captain." Hale whispered. "They're surrendering." The middle soldier raised his head, voice strained. "Get out." Before we could react, movement flickered behind them, and one more figure stepped from the darkness. A woman. Her hair silver. Face lined by time and exhaustion. Uniform nearly identical to Vickers' unit patch. She raised both hands. Slow, peaceful, and spoke. Don't be afraid. Her voice broke slightly. You came looking for answers, and you deserve them. Bennett frowned. Who are you? She lowered her hands. My name is Captain Rena Dalton. I led the 4th team sent to this station. Reyes froze. 4th team? You should be dead. Dalton nodded. I was declared lost. Like the others. Quinn swallowed. How many are alive? Dalton hesitated. We keep 9 breathing. Bennett's jaw clenched. What about the others? She didn't answer. Reyes whispered. Captain, what happened here? Dalton turned her gaze toward the cots. We survived. Then she looked at me. But we never escaped. We gathered around Dalton as she told the story. Slowly, painfully, like someone peeling out pieces of memory buried under years of silence. 13 years ago, Vickers' team reached this station first. Their mission was simple. Confirm the existence of a subterranean relay hub, something built long before the surface base above existed. Quinn frowned. What kind of relay? Military, Dalton replied. But not ours. My pulse spiked. You're saying another nation built it? No, she whispered. No nation. She gestured to the walls. Everything here predates the maps, predates the government footprint. This site was never supposed to be discovered. Reyes shook her head. Then why did command send teams back? Dalton's eyes darkened. Because they didn't know what they were sending them into. What happened to Vickers? Bennett asked. Dalton inhaled slowly. They found the underground archive. Then they found something sleeping beneath it. Silence. Hill spoke carefully. Sleeping? Dalton nodded. Not alive. Not dead. Preserved. Something. Her voice broke. Something human. Ward stepped forward. So what's in the lower chamber? Dalton's answer was barely audible. A choice. Before we could ask more, Quinn flinched. Her radio screamed. Mercer. My heart stopped. Don't trust them. Reyes stared at Dalton. Who was that? Dalton's expression didn't change. Someone who doesn't understand. Quinn shook her head. No, that voice wasn't warning us away. She looked directly at me. It was trying to tell us the truth. We heard the rumble long before we saw what caused it. A deep vibration rolling through the floor, shaking dust from the beams and making the cots rattle. Dalton stiffened. They know you're here. Who? Bennett demanded. Dalton pointed to the ceiling. The ones watching from above. I turned to Reyes. Extraction? Negative. We're too deep. Hill took point. Captain, we need to move before this whole place buries us. Dalton lifted her hands. You can't run. Not yet. Reyes narrowed her eyes. Why not? Dalton stared at Vickers' unconscious body. Because he woke the relay. Quinn clenched her jaw. What does that mean? Dalton whispered. It means the station isn't abandoned anymore. Then a distant metallic shriek tore through the chamber. Like steel being ripped apart. The power flickered. Walls shook. Dust rained from the ceiling in thick clouds. Hill yelled, Move! We rushed toward the exit as the first crack thundered overhead. Ward hoisted Vickers onto his shoulders. Reyes grabbed Quinn and pulled her forward. Dalton followed, silent and swift. Bennett fired a burst at falling debris, clearing a path. We sprinted through the archive corridor as crates toppled and shelves collapsed behind us. The station roared like a dying beast. Something above had triggered a detonation. Whether to bury the site or protect it, we couldn't tell. Hill turned back. Captain, we're not going to make it. I shouted over the crashing stone. Yes, we are. Move. We reached the staircase and stumbled upward, the floor trembling beneath our boots, until we burst into the upper chamber. Ward dropped to one knee, panting. Dalton collapsed against the wall. Reyes stared at the ceiling. This whole place is coming down. Quinn checked her radio. Signals dead. All channels. Bennett kicked aside rubble. Then we're trapped. No, Dalton pointed to the eastern wall. There's another exit. The original one. Before we could move, Quinn gasped. Captain, look. Vickers was waking. Eyes opening. Wide. Terrified. He grabbed my vest with trembling hands. whispered one sentence. Don't let them finish what we started. His gaze shifted toward the tunnel we'd escaped from, toward the archive below, and the truth buried inside. Then the floor beneath us cracked, and the station began to fall. The station groaned beneath us, the ground buckling in deep jolts as dust and debris rained from the ceiling. The collapse wasn't random. It was controlled, detonations placed exactly where they needed to be to seal the lower levels forever. Reyes dragged Quinn toward the eastern exit, while Ward, still carrying Vickers' weight across his shoulders, stumbled forward through broken concrete. Bennett and Hale took point, clearing the path with short, precise bursts at falling rubble. Dalton lingered near the rear, watching, not frightened, resigned. I kept one hand on Vickers, steadying him as he blinked awake, groaning through clenched teeth. His breaths came in fast, ragged gasps, not from pain alone, but from memory clawing its way back to the surface. The chamber vibrated violently. A split opened in the floor, knocking us off balance as the ground tilted downward. Move, 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 Hale shouted. Ahead, faint daylight bled through a narrow crack in the stone, our exit. Ward managed 3 more steps before his knees buckled. Vickers nearly slid from his back. Bennett sprinted forward, grabbing the unconscious man under one arm and lifting him higher. We're not leaving him behind, Bennett growled. Another explosion tore through the room. Pipes split. Walls crumbled. The floor dropped several inches all at once. Reyes fired a burst at a collapsing beam, knocking away enough debris to create a narrow path through the chaos. Hurry, she yelled. We ran. The light ahead grew brighter, our route narrowing to a single jagged opening leading into a slanted tunnel lined with broken concrete. We dove through just as the ceiling behind us collapsed entirely, sealing the archive beneath hundreds of tons of rock and steel. Silence surged in to replace the chaos. We lay sprawled in the dark tunnel, our chest heaving, grit thick in our mouths. For a moment, none of us spoke. Then Hale whispered the only words that mattered. We made it. But Vickers did not share his relief. He lay on his back, chest rising shallowly, eyes wide and unfocused. His lips moved. I leaned closer. What is it? He whispered harshly, each breath painful. They never died. Reyes knelt beside him. We saw them. 7 bodies. All alive. No, Vickers said. Not them. He reached into his pocket, shaking fingers closing around a small metal shard. He pressed it into my palm. A dog tag. The name burned into the metal. Elias Mercer. Every sound in the world vanished. My own heartbeat roared in my ears. That's mine, I whispered. Vickers nodded. You were here. No, I said firmly. No, I wasn't. Dalton stepped forward, voice steady but soft. You don't remember. Reyes stared at me. What's she talking about? Vickers whispered my name again. Captain, we saw you die. The words hit harder than any collapsing ceiling. Bennett stepped closer, trying to make sense of it. You're saying Mercer was here 13 years ago? Vickers shook his head violently. No. 11. Same year we went in. Hale turned to me. There must be another Mercer. Another soldier with the same name. But I knew better. The serial number on the tag wasn't similar. It was identical. Mine. My breath came shallow. My fingers trembled. Dalton spoke quietly. We found that tag near the lower chamber. But we never found your body. Reyes' gaze searched my face. Captain, what does this mean? I couldn't answer. Not yet. We moved through the tunnel in silence, our boots scraping through layers of dust, loose stone, and memories that didn't belong to us. The tunnel opened into a cavern lit by natural sunlight, filtered through thick vines and roots hanging like ropes from the surface above. Fresh air hit like medicine. The jungle roared beyond the exit. Birds calling, leaves stirring, water rushing nearby. Life. Ward exhaled shakily. Never thought I'd be happy to smell humidity again. But the weight of the station clung to us like a shadow. As we stepped into the clearing, Reyes looked back. What was the point of all that? Vickers answered without opening his eyes. To keep it hidden. What? Quinn asked. The truth, he whispered. About night harvest. We set up a temporary field position in the clearing, half concealed among vines and broken stone. Bennett and Ward laid Vickers on a tarp and began stabilizing him with saline and heat packs. Reyes and Hale took the outer perimeter, scanning the dense tree line with rifles at the ready. Quinn sat beside me, headset off, hands shaking. Dalton remained standing, silent, watching the forest. When Vickers finally spoke, his voice was ragged and weak, but steady enough. Night harvest wasn't recon, he said. They lied to everyone. Reyes approached. What was it? Vickers turned his head toward her. Recruitment. Bennett frowned. For what? Not soldiers, Vickers said. Subjects. Ward stepped closer. You're telling us they sent multiple teams down there, knowing they'd never come out? No, Vickers replied. They sent them down so they couldn't come out. The words hit like a hammer. Hale cursed under his breath. So HQ knew? Vickers held my gaze. You knew? The clearing went silent. I shook my head slowly. No, I didn't. Not now, he whispered. Before. Reyes stepped between us, voice rising. Stop. That's impossible. Dalton spoke quietly behind her. Not if he's right. I faced Dalton. What are you suggesting? She exhaled. You weren't sent here on a recon mission. You were sent to finish what you started. What did I start? I demanded. Dalton pointed to the jungle. To find who built this. Quinn whispered. The station? No, Dalton said. The underground network. Reyes frowned. There's more. Hundreds of miles more, Dalton replied. What you saw is one node in a chain. Ward rubbed his forehead. Who built it? Dalton raised her eyes to mine. You did. The jungle rippled like heat distortion. I blinked. Shapes flickered at the edges of vision. Bright lights. Cold rooms. Hands gripping metal rails. Voices whispering under surgical masks. Remove identification tags. Prepare for transfer. Subject awake. Bolts of pain shot through my skull. Knees buckled. Reyes grabbed my shoulder. Captain. I steadied myself. Shook my head. No. I was never here. Vickers stared up at me with hollow eyes. You were the one who found us. I knelt beside him. Voice low. Found who? His answer came with all the weight of the dead behind it. The ones waiting beneath the earth. Quinn's radio screeched, violent enough to rattle her teeth. She dropped it. The device hit the dirt, sparking. Voices bled through the interference. Layered voices. Impossibly familiar. Terribly distorted. Mercer. You never left. Finish the relay. Complete the circle. The radio screamed again, louder. We are not done. Then the signal cut out. Silence returned. A heavy, unnatural silence. Reyes turned slowly toward the tree line. Captain. Her voice trailed off. Movement stirred in the forest. Branches shifting. Footsteps crunching on rooted soil. Not one pair of feet. Many. Bennett raised his rifle. Contact. Figures emerged from the shadows. Slow, deliberate. Silhouettes in recon uniforms. Faces blank. Eyes wide and lifeless. Ward hissed. That's them. The others from the station. The ones who had survived. The ones who never left. Dalton stepped forward. Stand down. They didn't. Instead, they began to speak. All at once. Voices overlapping. Fractured. Haunted. Finish it. Their rifles hung at their sides. No threat. Just presence. I stared at them. 7 men who had once been soldiers. Now something else. Memory without purpose. Life without life. What do you want? I called. The forest answered. Return. The word echoed through the clearing. Through my bones. Through my mind. Quinn stepped back. No. No, no, no. Reyes raised her weapon. Captain, give the order. I didn't. I couldn't. Because as I stared at those hollow faces, something terrible settled into place. A truth buried beneath 13 years of silence. They weren't calling to us. They were calling to me. The ground trembled again. Not from collapse, but from the weight of footsteps moving closer. Bennett fired a warning shot into the air. "Back up," he shouted. The figures didn't react, didn't even flinch. Ward pulled the safety pin from a flash grenade. "Captain, we can end this." "No," I said. My voice shook. "We can't." Reyes stared at me. "Why not?" I exhaled slowly. "Because they're not trying to hurt us. They were waiting. For me." Dalton stepped beside me, her voice calm. "You understand now." I turned to her. "Tell me." She pointed to the tag in my hand. "You were part of the original mission. You found the archive. You found the relay. But something went wrong. Something fractured." I shook my head. "No. I enlisted 17 years ago. I wasn't on any operation 13 years ago." Dalton's eyes softened. "That's what they told you." My pulse hammered in my skull. "What happened to me?" Dalton answered. "You were erased." Reyes gasped. "Captain, that's insane. We've known you for years." Dalton nodded. "I know." "Then how?" "Memory," Dalton said quietly. "Selective erasure. Implantation. Reconstruction. Part of the experiment." "What experiment?" Hill demanded. Dalton looked into the jungle. "The one they built this station for." Ward lowered his grenade. "So what's the relay?" Dalton pointed to my radio. "It's not a machine." A chill crawled up my spine. "It's a network of people." The forest blurred. The air twisted. The figures approached. Reyes raised her weapon. "Captain, what do we do?" I looked at Vickers. He stared back at me, eyes full of pain and truth. "You brought us home," he whispered. "Finish it." And I finally understood. Night Harvest wasn't a mission. It was a cycle, a signal loop, a human archive. Those soldiers in the station, the ones who never aged, weren't sustained by machines. They were sustained by memory. Theirs, mine, ours. Erasing them was impossible. Ending the relay was impossible. But completing it, that we could do. Reyes asked again, voice shaking. "Captain, what's the order?" I raised my radio to my lips, hands steady now, and spoke the final words of the relay. "Transmission complete." The radio pulsed once, twice, a whispered voice echoing through the channel. "Welcome back." The forest brightened. The figures dissolved. The weight lifted. The world exhaled. Vickers closed his eyes, breath easing. Ward collapsed to his knees. Dalton smiled, a small, tired smile. And the static finally stopped. Some ghosts don't haunt places. They haunt signals. And sometimes, the only way to silence them is to answer back. If you enjoyed this story, subscribe to Epic Recon Stories. Here we tell the missions that never made the headlines, the decisions made in silence, and the people who carried them. More stories are coming soon.